Alright, see less. A little bit of balloon time. Hey, yo, 1 sec. Can I just use the iPad quickly, Dad? No, wait, no, don't.
Hey, you've got your iPad. Ah, cheers. Yeah, touch. No.
Oof, yeah, so that was a close one. I can't lie. Wait, what in the world? Hey, listen, I can explain, I swear. Yo guys, it is your boy Nirin here, and you are watching FTW. It's of course the series where I bring to you the best and more frequently the worst of what football has to offer during the last 7 days. But what's been kicking off in the world this week? Well, 1.6 million people tuned in to see Minecraft YouTuber Dream do a face reveal for the very first time. This was like some Spider-Man reveal shit.
Hi.
Memulus is getting restless knowing that he's next. I'll be honest lads, he looks like a pretty standard Caucasian man, like a junior producer at Nickelodeon, or he looks like he reads poetry. Thou art mining thine craft. His parents were in the chat pretending to be shocked on reveal.
Oh, nah, I never knew that.
And to be honest, he also looks like Marcos Alonso. Anyway, on to the football now, and it's been a disastrous week for United, to say the least. They were battered and outplayed by their local rivals Man City at the Etihad and lost 6-3.
Alex Ferguson was asked in 2009 if City could ever go into a derby as favourites. He said, not in my lifetime. Now it's every time.
These lot are shy. United fans were leaving in their droves before half-time, and the ones at home could barely watch too. David De Gea ended the match on a 2.4 rating to represent the 24 hours of the day that he concedes in. Bruno Fernandes got rinsed by João Cancelo. Casemiro was in tears watching from the bench. Jadon Sancho said he had tips on dealing with Haaland, only to play as if he couldn't get his Moncler coat filthy. And Erling Haaland, I mean, he's actually a joke. Another hat-trick. Roy, mate, if you'd attacked his dad's crotch instead, we'd all be fine. I mean, look, Roy, you did try and kill his father, so those two are actually doing punditry right next to each other for different channels. Imagine the scenes. Yeah, so basically, right. Meanwhile, instead of ducking away from punches, Gary Neville was ducking from water. As I said though, Erling Haaland with yet another trio of goals. He's the fastest man to 3 hat-tricks in just 8 games. He's 9 off the golden boot of last season with 30 matches still left. Give this guy a platinum boot or something. Right, how many off Erling am I? 58. Okay, 59. What do you mean? City aren't even playing right now. United fans have simply had enough. We watched Pep Guardiola cry and say he cannot replace Sergio Aguero for no reason.
You cannot.
This man was born on a petri dish, for God's sake. He's a machine. One man on Twitter even had an idea that given Erling isn't going to the World Cup with Norway, every single team in the group stages should have a half-an-hour allocation where he can just parachute in and play for them as a wild card. Just Fortnite dropping into the group stages. This guy's gonna have walkout music and everything. He'll be somewhat disappointed though when Gareth Southgate tries to deploy him as an inverted left wing back.
A bit shit, but that's all it is.
Imagine Mbappe 1-0 up with France in the World Cup final, only to hear a parachute sound coming from the sky. So he's gonna have to take a stand when the US's manager calls him up and starts using the word soccer. Oh, fuck off. I like this idea, but one-time fuckings are barely legal in Qatar. Team of Man City have got United players faking their own death to avoid him, and Brentford tweeting this out, having matched their half-time score. It's a shithousery award for the bees. Paul Lisandro Martinez got bullied here as well. Wow! His rating matched his height once again. He could have cut out this pass from Kevin De Bruyne if he was tall enough to go to a pub without a legal guardian. Him and Erik ten Hag are straight back on the plane to Ajax. Cristiano Ronaldo was left out of this one again. He dodged the Man City badge in the tunnel on the floor, just like dodging first team action. He was sat on the bench, impressed that David De Gea had only got -6 points in his fantasy football squad. Is his time at United up? Will we see him doing a player reveal back at Sporting Lisbon in January?
What do you think?
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
At least there was some goal scoring ability as Anthony Martial grabbed 2. Erik ten Hag wasn't too impressed seeing him turn up in his office and asked to start the next game.
Oh my god. Serious, look at this twat. They do it on purpose.
Didn't even mention the fact that Phil Foden grabbed a hat-trick too. What a player this kid is as well, man. Though he won't be too happy when he finds out that Erling stole the match ball.
Thanks, Phil. Now, sorry. Thanks for that, Phil.
Speaking of derbies, we were blessed with yet another this week, as Arsenal took on Tottenham and won the North London derby 3-1 to continue a 6th start to the season. I'm starting to see why this dad paid £3,000 for his son not to support Spurs.
Smoke on that!
The scoring was open here with a Thomas Partey effort from range. A long shot of his actually on target. Now, there has to be another explanation.
Thing to look forward to. I'm Derek Ray.
This one is a miracle worthy only of Jesus. He got on the score sheet too. He's used to Holy Ghost, but this time he's used to holy defences and goalkeeping gloves, judging from Lloris's antics. Ben White was back at Arsenal's training ground describing the French goalkeeper.
You shit.
And Gunners fans are delighted. It's no surprise. They're top of the league. Their centre-backs are doing nutmegs. Logan Paul's stunned at the prime stand watching William Saliba.
The LeBron James of soccer.
And fans are even willing to fly to the game due to train strikes. Look, all I'm going to say is you're going to need to watch out for the next party strike. But it's not so great for Tottenham.
My expectation to suffer.
Heung-min Son is devastated, realising he can't score 0.0074 XG screamers every game. Pep Guardiola started getting calls from Harry Kane again. Danny Aarons is absolutely finished. And all of this because of a ridiculous red card for Emerson Royal. He got a straight red for an unnecessary challenge on Gabriel Martinelli, and his Tottenham teammates aren't pleased catching him in the tunnel. Over on Instagram, and he's dancing in stories ahead of games and in the Champions League too. Apparently, he spent £1 million of his own money on getting better. Where did that cash go? You've been done by a pyramid scheme, lad. This is the worst royal tragedy since... well, I mean, they're staying in the Premier League, and over at Liverpool... Look, listen, I know, shut up. You don't need to do the dramatic zoom. Oh, how extraordinarily repetitive. Liverpool dropped points yet again in the league thanks to a 3-3 draw at Brighton. And it started off even worse, going 2-0 down at Anfield before a fight back and comeback to go 3-2 up, only for Leandro Trossard to grab a third. A Trossard hat-trick, you know. Do you know how many times he hits the post? It's a 3-to-1 ratio. He took at least 48 shots. Trent Alexander-Arnold was getting slandered again. He took a nap for one of Brighton's goals. Virgil van Dijk was not helpful either, trying to manifest the block instead of just going out to the ball. You know whose fault all of this is? Jake Paul tweeting about us. He's gonna be livid at Trent when he realises he's ruined another one of his bets.
You see, you plumber from Liverpool. It's personal between me and you.
We brought this game back well. Then James Milner came on and we conceded. Him warming up at the side of the pitch was a sight to behold. And an 86-year-old James is really gonna be struggling when he forgets he's a pro footballer.
Switch it. What does that mean? Sorry, guys. I was gonna, kick it up the other end and just put one right in their fucking goal hole, but no dice.
At least we grabbed a decent result in Europe, though, with a 2-0 win over Rangers. Man of the match in this one, Rangers goalkeeper Alan McGregor. This man was taking his job far too seriously. He wasn't particularly helped by Rangers' tactical strategy, but he denied Darwin Núñez countless times. Núñez will not be happy seeing McGregor in the car park. To be fair, though, this was him anyway. 10 minutes in and he was ready to scrap. Gord must have had a great time adding a little bit of South American Latino to Andy Carroll for this guy.
Let me add a little bit of spice to that.
Trent put the Brighton game behind him with an early free kick to open the scoring. He's happy to have silenced the critics by scoring, but technically doing no defensive work whatsoever again. And Steven Gerrard was conflicted seeing Liverpool score, but knowing that Rangers had also conceded. Staying in the Champions League, and Chelsea comfortably beat AC Milan 3-0, as Graham Potter worked his magic to beat the Italian champions. Whilst being down on the touchline, looking like he's one chain away from the rock. The side in red and black was stuck between a rock and a hard place here, though, performing terribly. Most of them looked as if they were playing in Doc Martens. At Man City, and they beat FC Copenhagen 5-0, and you guessed it, Erling Haaland scored again. Pep Guardiola's reaction says it all at this point. This is going to be the first guy to have a Team of the Season card in November, and apparently he scored 1% of all of Man City's goals in the Premier League and Champions League. There's now been an official petition to ban this man from all FA licensed games. Imagine poor Copenhagen defenders seeing this guy coming towards them.
Fucking hell, man. I'm finished.
Even a superhero in goal can't stop the man. Bayern Munich thrashed Czech side Poulsen 5-0 as well. Sadio Mane was asked for a half-time shirt swap. What is this? The game is gone. Is he coming out for the second half topless or something? Though, to be honest, with the way these guys were waving at the camera before kickoff, they're just happy to be there. Meanwhile, the last time Bayern lost at home in the Champions League group stages, Jamal Musiala was 10 years old. This guy was watching Cartoon Network and eating Space Raiders. There was controversy at Barcelona as they lost 1-0 to Inter, but Xavi, it was fair to say, was not happy with the referees.
Oh, shit.
Here we go again.
It was a pretty clear handball here, amongst other things that should have been a penalty. Barca's admin was excited for this Pedri goal until it was disallowed. Even brought out binoculars for the celebration. But what is it exactly that he's seeing? Ousmane Dembele was far from pleased with the refereeing performance as well. But Inter centre-back Bastoni didn't care, posting this on Instagram of him manhandling Gavi. It's a Housery award for the Italian. Romelu Lukaku, though, was a bit more distracted, posting that he'd seen a shorty in the crowd from the touchline. Can't wait for him to try and impress her with his footballing capabilities. There was carnage at Bayer Leverkusen and Porto, where Leverkusen were denied a penalty. Porto then scored on the break. The penalty was given and the goal was disallowed from Porto's side, only for Leverkusen to then miss the penalty anyway. At Sporting, and their goalkeeper was sent off for playing volleyball outside the area against Marseille, and Sporting will also be punished for turning up 15 minutes late to the game and causing a delay to kick off. They must have been discussing goalkeeping tactics. Right, listen, you can only handball it in the box. Oh, for crying out loud. Jude Bellingham became the second teenager to score in the first 3 games of a Champions League campaign. No surprise who the first was.
English teenager or any teenager?
Any teenager.
Mbappe or...
You know him very well.
Erling.
Yes.
Oh, of course. Can't get anything over that geezer at the minute, I swear to God, but yeah.
And at Ajax, their boss, Alfred Schroeder, told their fans that he was going to create something beautiful against Napoli, only for them to lose 6-1. Yeah, Eric Ten Hag and Martinez might be back on the way to Manchester. At Chelsea versus Crystal Palace, now in the Premier League, and Thiago Silva did not receive a red card for this handball. I suppose it's only a fingertip save, isn't it, really? Don't get him involved in a penalty shootout. There's no way he's going to take it seriously. And shout out to Reece James for this tweet, insinuating that he pocketed Wilfred Zaha because he managed to get a big old nibble from the Crystal Palace winger on Insta. Over at Leicester, and they slapped Nottingham Forest in an East Midlands derby, the Foxes are one Maddison injury away from Brendan Rodgers being record-breakingly jobless. Gareth Southgate's conflicted watching James's performance.
Nah, I'm tripping. Yo, fuck this nigga. Ronaldo better.
Leicester fans actually brought a tifo of Nottingham-born Wes Morgan lifting a Premier League trophy for them, which is beautiful and a shithousery award. Meanwhile, Danny Ward is just happy to get a clean sheet here. Over at Manchester City, and Jack Grealish is not happy with his FIFA 23 face. It looks like they took it from this angle, mate. We have a Walker here finding a massive stash of cocaine down on a beach. I mean, this cannot be within doping rules, surely, for Kyle. Here he is at 4 AM, off his not at afters. Meanwhile, John Terry is moving crazily on Twitter again, as after being corrected on his grammar, he replied saying, "Sorry about that, but while you were at school learning, I was winning Premier Leagues." Raheem Sterling has got some new custom-made boots that recreate the patterns on a bus as a linkage to his story growing up and being taken to football training by his sister on various different London buses. I love the idea, shouts to his sister, but we all know what opposition chants are gonna be.
Bus wankers!
We've got a Leeds fan doubling as Spec Ops here in the crowd. Her view of the pitch must be sensational. Meanwhile, Jared Bowen's finger over at West Ham is not looking great. That's what happens when you save a shot from Erling Haaland. And speaking of which, it's not Project Mbappe on TikTok anymore, it's Project Erling.
Project Haaland, yeah? Ready. Ponytail. Loaded up, yeah? I need them hat-tricks every game, broski.
In France, there's controversy surrounding Lionel Messi, as statistics have come out about his private jet usage. In the last 3 months, he's used more CO2 than the average French person in 150 years. Look, the guy's small. He needs some kind of aircraft to get up the stairs. It is a bit petty, but it is a point. Like, if we're looking after the environment, celebrities shouldn't be jetting all over the place like this, I guess. But it's the same amount as, like, a Cristiano Ronaldo flight to Uzbekistan for the Europa League. Leo also scored a perfectly timed free kick in League One against OGC Nice as a GOAT advertising board came up as the ball hit the net. Kylian Mbappe is going to be sacking that ad board man immediately.
It's a bloody disgrace. What do you think you're coming here for? What do you think you're coming here for? You can leave.
Alexander Lacazette's back at Lyon, and it's coincided with the club's worst form in 31 years. His bad voice box is getting used to shout at his teammates right now. And there was this absolutely shambolic piece of play at Marseille and Sporting Lisbon's under-19s. The future is looking bright. In Italy, and Juventus and Bologna greeted each other before a match with copies of FIFA 23. What are they going to do? Play weekend league against each other? Adrian Rabiot's mum is not going to be impressed seeing her son on FIFA 23 instead of playing actual football. Jose Mourinho got a touchline ban after running onto the pitch against Atalanta recently, so he had to watch their clash against Inter from home and took to Insta to document it.
I'm gonna die here. Bravi ragazzi, grande palle.
have been running up quickly to the TV as soon as a bad decision is given. Paulo Dybala grabbed a goal in this game as well, and this Roma fan turned to his inner mate and celebrated like the Argentinian. Meanwhile, over in Spain and at Real Madrid, Vinicius Jr. was convinced that Karim Benzema would stick away this penalty, only to be a little bit let down afterwards. Meanwhile, down in the second division, and we've got boring Burgos, who have either won 1-0 or drawn 0-0 for quite some time now. Shouts out to their defence, but their season tickets must be £2.49, because their fans are going to be struggling to stay awake. On to our goals of the week now, and we start off in England, down in the Championship, and with Henry Lansbury of Luton. You come for the amazing strike, and you stay for the sensational celebration. Next up and over in Israel, we've got Dean David charging down on goal for a lovely solo effort and finishing it off with a sensational back heel. And finally, we've got our first goal of the week double. Two absolute screamers from former PSG man Gregor Krychowiak in the same game. Elsewhere, and these lads have decided to make pro clubs, but kind of in real life. And a 90th minute winner is absolute scenes. At Celtic, and we've got this absolute criminality of a pizza being sold at their stadium. That better be £2, because it's the size of a £2 coin. In Poland, we've got some great sportsmanship going on, where Jagiellonia scored whilst an opponent was down on the pitch injured, so they let their opponents run through on goal and grab a goal back. And elsewhere, we find the absolute worst edited football scene ever, and I just don't know how to explain anything that's going on. Hello all and welcome to The Beautiful Game, the segment where we take a look at the poetic and brilliant side of the game that we love. We are back by popular demand for yet more glorious beauty. And that concludes The Beautiful Game. Over in Saudi Arabia, an Algerian goalkeeper, Mustafa Zegba, accidentally scored from his own box this week as the ball took a fortuitous bounce over his opposite number. Over in Argentina, we've got this Don in the Racing changing room, realising that he can turn up in the back of a camera shot here. Over in Armenia, and shouts to Norik Avdilan, who scored easily the best penalty of this year with a backflip one. And this isn't even the first time he's done it. Over in Turkey, and after a sensational save / a poor miss, this Turkish boss fell to the floor and decided to just start planking. I guess there's never a bad time to get the abdominal exercises in. Andre Teixeira here probably needs to work on his knee slides a little bit in training. In Sweden now, and Marcus Danielsson scored a very unfortunate own goal for Djurgårdens. Meanwhile, Central Valley Fuego in America are not looking very Fuego with this build-up play, ending up in the back of their own net.
As this one has to get chased back and it rolls into the back of the net.
In Belarus, we've got a group of 22 players practically having to swim around the pitch. The keeper found out the hard way that it's hard to stop in these conditions. Yeah, down the line, mate. I'm open. Down the line. You are the line. In Argentina, and I don't know what's going on with Boca Juniors fan base right now, but they're just all deciding to bust it down for no reason. There were crazy scenes in Macedonia, down in the second division, where a fan ran onto the pitch, managed to hit an opponent, then ran all the way back off it again and out into the scenery before security could get to him. In Venezuela, and we've got another unlikely scorer, as yet another shot stopper, this time Christopher Varela, scored from his own half and grabbed his first ever goal. And over at Tigre, we've got an accidental but definitely a little bit intentional barge after scoring here. Now there is time for the moment you've all been waiting for, because over in Romania, this nation just cannot stop providing sensational stories at the moment, because we've got two again. But the first one is a developing story that you heard about last time, where Astra Giurgiu, who find themselves down in the third tier without a senior squad and with their owner currently in jail, lost 19-0 last week. Well, they've been heavily beaten again, 12-0 the score this time around. And elsewhere, secret footage was filmed by a taxi driver of a female agent having a verbal scrap with her husband by the side of the road. And yeah, honestly, it's a bit tapped, so I hope she can get out of this relationship. Over in the Polish 4th division, and there's some ridiculous scenes there, where Gdynia Gdanska's goalkeeper's made a great save, even better when you realise that he's 14 years old. Thailand offers us easily the best own goal of the week here. Over in Saudi Arabia again, and the cameraman, as well as everyone watching, was fooled by this fake cross combined with this ball movement on an ad ball in the background. Sign this man up for Hogwarts, because this is magic. In Morocco, and goalkeeper Shanouf made this absolute howler for Difan El Jadida. In Tajikistan, we've definitely never been here before, so this is a record. Into the 90th minute of the game, an unsuspecting goalkeepers claimed the ball and put it down on the ground, only to realise there's an opponent striker stood behind him who rounds him and tucks it into the net for a late equaliser. In Africa, and we've got the most unnecessary but acrobatic pass you're ever gonna see. In Greece, and we've got the unlikely scenario of an exactly joint player of the month poll, so two players have won it at the same time with exactly the same percentage. And over in Ecuador, there is definitely match fixing going on, with a flurry of ridiculous fouls going against the team in black here. Allegedly, the team in white's president is the son of a politician who was ousted for corruption, and apparently their striker was convicted for drug trafficking. I mean, that probably says a lot about Ecuadorian football as it is. Now that it's time for Still 0-0, and you guys know the score by now. This is a segment of the show where I bring to you the best of Sunday League and amateur football. Now, in amateur football, you've got to be expectant of some seriously crunching challenges. But these days, we're seeing some simulation start to creep in. Well, that's not acceptable, according to this Scottish fan on the sidelines. On to the weird stuff though now. Over in Bolivia, and Kevin Mina of Real Santa Cruz came out in an interview saying that if his team were relegated in their playoff zone, he would cut off his own dick. What is this series becoming? I don't actually. They're currently second bottom. Ironically, no one will be going down on him if they actually end up getting relegated. At Alexandra, and their top scorer, Courtney Baker-Richardson, was injured playing FIFA this week. It turns out they had his leg up on the sofa whilst he was playing and tweaked it, meaning that he missed their most recent league match. Let's be honest, we all know what actually happened. In Colombia, and at America de Cali, a man of the match performance there against Atletico Nacional earns you a massive bag of Parmesan cheese. We changed the tone a little bit here, and that's because there's a very serious story that's come out of Indonesia this week, where a game between Arema FC and their longtime rivals Persebaya Surabaya, a number of fans ran onto the pitch and were confronted by police who launched tear gas at them. In the panic to escape the pitch and the stadium itself, there was a massive crush, and tragically, at least 125 people have lost their lives now in the tragedy. Now, this makes it one of the most deadly disasters in footballing history and caused rioting in the ground with police vans on fire and players having to try and help the fans that had come to cheer them on. Now, it's obviously unacceptable for a fan to go to a game and not make it back as it is, but this is a genuine travesty of massive proportion. I've tried to find some kind of fundraisers that are down in the description below, so if you want to help out in any way, then I can divert you down there and you can do so. But that is going to wrap up football this week. Feel free to hit the like button if you enjoyed this one, and of course subscribe if you are new to the channel. You can also follow me on social media. It is at @theofficialfng on Twitter and on Insta. But it's been a pleasure ranting at you guys today. Have a wonderful day, enjoy yourselves, and goodbye.